Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This week's project was mostly filmed 3 years ago. That's why we're doing sort of a pre-intro to the video, because I just wanted to explain that. So if you guys are like, this footage looks weird, this sound, like video quality is bad, just please bear with me. I did really want to finish this project though, and the end of the year is rapidly approaching us, so I wanted to finish this project and another project before the end of the year, because yes, both are, thank you Mushu for being my cameraman, both are Christmas projects. So I'm not gonna keep you guys too long. I just wanted to point this out. Moo, please. And yes, so let's go and mosey on over to the actual footage and the actual project, and I hope you guys enjoy. This cat is crazy. He's just trying to do acrobatics and be my cameraman all at once. It's awesome. So yes, without further ado, I give you the Christmas jacket project. I hope I look okay. Hi fellow dragons. I know it's been a really long time since I've done a video, and as you may notice, the background looks a little odd because, well, lots been going on. Obviously I had my huge season of Halloween, and that always keeps me busy. And then recently, I've been going through relocating, and I've been stuck in a hotel. So that's what the weird background lights are. But it is December, and I want to do something Christmassy, and I finally have some free time. So I wanted to start on a project I've been wanting to do for, well, that I've been thinking about for a month, which is I wanted to make a Christmas Lolita inspired jacket. And I've come up with a design which we'll go over before we start making it. So let's talk about fabrics. So a lot of times when you're making jackets, and most Lolita jackets you'll see will be made out of wool and everything. The only thing is, wool is very hard to find, and it's a bit hard to manipulate when sewing. I've worked with it before and with fake wools. The other problem too is it's just not a great variety of color. With the concept I came up with, I actually needed two fabrics. So for my sturdier fabric, I decided to go with an embossed, I think I'm saying that right, embossed green velvet with a nice swirly pattern. Here you go. Guys, get a close-up. Isn't that pretty? It looks a bit darker in camera because the lighting is garbage in this place, but it's not as dark as it looks. So we got that. I bought 4 yards. 4 yards, I think. I hope it's enough. So, surely it should be. And then, for the other fabric, this year I really went into poinsettias. So I wanted to go with something that had a similar green to kind of tie it all in. And this is my cotton poinsettia fabric. So as you notice, I said it's cotton. So this is why I decided not to work with wool, because I just don't think wool and cotton can mesh very well together as fabrics to be sewn together. So I decided to go with a nice sturdy non-stretch velvet. This is very important because stretching velvet is very stretchy, and since I'm working with a cotton that doesn't stretch, I don't want to work with something. I just hate working with stretch and a non-stretch together. It's just a pain in the behind. So, we've gotten our fabrics, I've covered that. Now, to make life easier on myself, I will be splicing some pattern work to help me create my design. Obviously, my design does not look anything like these patterns, but I'm going to go over with you how I'm going to modify them and to create what I want. And this is kind of a huge, huge skill to learn if you want to do cosplay especially, but even Lolita stuff sometimes, because learning to modify patterns that are store-bought will save you so much more work, and it's a lot less work than jumping in the deep end, which is just fully drafting your patterns, which I can do that, but it's a lot more time consuming. And why do that when I can just splice some patterns together and make life easier for myself and maybe kind of give you guys some ideas on how to modify patterns. So the big one is McCall's M6800, which is a very basic jacket pattern. What I like about this pattern is the jacket pieces are, like you can see, it's got a nice little floof to it, which means it would be good over a dress. I cut out pieces mostly for D, which is the blue one. So that's the main pattern we'll be working with. The only other pattern is I'm going to be using Simplicity's 8737. I am only using this for the sleeves, which took me forever to figure out what design I wanted to do for the sleeves. I went from like, do I want a bishop sleeve, do I want a lamb chop sleeve, and do I want this, do I want that? So I settled with these sleeves. I was actually just lucky I already owned this pattern because I thought, I'm gonna have to make them that myself. And then I was going through my patterns the other day, I'm like, oh, they have the sleeve I wanted. Okay, so before I jump over to the designing and what I'm actually making, I just want to talk about my dress form back here, which is all set up and ready. You're probably wondering, why is she wearing crinoline? Since this is a Lolita-inspired jacket, I can't say words today, obviously. I want this jacket to be able to fit over a dress, a Lolita dress. Well, Lolita dresses typically need petticoats and are very puffy. So I've put the crinoline over it, so when I am messing with my pattern and modifying it, I will know it can fit over both a dress, a skirt, or just pants if I want to. So I've also set my mannequin up to her measurements. I've made her a little on the bigger side since this is going to be a jacket, because I don't want it to be tight fitting. I want to be able to wear something under it, like a blouse or a dress. So just keep all that in mind, and let's jump over to talking about the design of the jacket. Alright guys, so let's discuss the design. Ta-da! Alright, so like I said, as you probably noticed, this doesn't really look much like the pattern that we're going off of. But don't worry about it. Now so I've taken little snippets to kind of discuss what parts will be what, because right now it's a little confusing. So for the green, I'm just going to shade in things like that for it. As you can see, I wasn't 100% settled on my sleeve design at the time when I last went to this. There's a few things I'm not set in stone about. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing a fur trim or just having it as a lace trim. Either way, it's something I can worry about later. So the main themes of this dress is it has a center button and not double-breasted buttons, which are seen a lot in Lolita, but I want it to look really pretty when it's cascading over a skirt and kind of be able to split more easily, and double-breasted just isn't going to do that. I'll have it pretty much only going down to my waistline with buttons to keep that more movable over a dress. For my green velvet, I'm going to be using that for my caplet part, Obviously, the patterns I showed you do not have a caplet part. So we're going to be having to draft that ourselves, which is fairly easy and simple, and I'll go over that more in detail when I get to it. It's very much along the lines of a circle skirt. And then as I said, this is, like, I don't know, the only reason I'm bulking it fur is I really hate working with fur. So we'll see. Then I'm going to have it where it latches up here, that there'll be a really nice large bow, which will be very Christmassy colors. And again, I have not settled on what color it will be. It's just kind of a rough sketch. I've also drawn in that it could have 2 tails instead of 1, just to make it extra fancy. Again, not 100% set on what my colors are. I'm sure I'll have them match in somehow with these 2 fabrics. Let's talk about where else I want it to be green. I want my underskirt to be the green velvet as well. So that way you have the top and the bottom tying in, which will give it a very nice aesthetic. Of course, this is green. Which means my poinsettia fabric will be this piece and the body piece. And I think I'm gonna do the sleeves as the poinsettias too, because I don't want to just use it here, because then there's nowhere else in the outfit it's tied in. So poinsettia will be the overskirt and the sleeves. I'm going to then have it probably like, I want to say ruching, maybe slightly gathering it up, and then pinning it with little bows, which will probably be red, just to get that contrast against the green. Buttons, I have no idea what buttons I'm going to use yet. Who knows, we'll figure that out later. But hopefully this gives you guys a decent idea of the direction we're going in. So I'm going to talk about the pattern pieces and kind of how we're going to modify them. So as I said, we're going to be using McCall's as our main piece so far. We'll worry about the sleeves later. And I'm cutting out everything. I'm cutting out deep, but I'm not cutting out everything. Ugh, can't unfold paper. So the pieces I've cut out is 2, 3, 4. I have cut out 5 because I haven't decided if I can squeeze in a pocket or not. It would be very handy to have pockets, so I'm probably going to try and incorporate a pocket. You'll need 6, 7, and then 8 and 11, because I do still want this collar. It'll really help me kind of incorporate the caplet into it. I've already gone ahead and cut those pieces out to the size I believed I need, and I'm going to go over and work on the dress form, and we're going to start pinning the pieces so they lie on the dress form to kind of get a general idea of the silhouette. Okay guys, so I've got the jacket all on, and I kind of did a mock-up. The good news is it's got plenty of skirt space for wearing any of your Lolita dreams, desires, and fantasy skirts and dresses underneath it. As you may have noticed, I cut it a bit too big. So when I am cutting out the fabric, I will be cutting it down to size. But hey, it's better to be on the big size than the small size, because, well, just is. Before though we go into that, I want to talk about the design again, because I'm going to draw some lines on here and we're going to modify this pattern. Ignore the caplet for now, and we're going to talk about the base. The base. What I'm going to do to save myself some fabric is I'm actually going to cut this pattern at the waistline. If you're wondering why I'm doing that, that's going to mean that instead of making the whole thing in the green velvet and in the cotton, I'm only going to be making the cotton as the skirt. I'm not actually going to physically cut this, because I'm probably going to do the whole cotton first and then cut my velvet last as a skirt. The nice thing is these patterns already say waistline, so basically, just to remind myself, I'll be drawing kind of a line all the way around for the waistline. This is why I also chose crinoline instead of the petticoat, because as you saw, it was much easier for me to pin that in everywhere. done doing another petticoat, which can get messy, it can get in my way. Obviously, if you don't have crinoline and you have a petticoat, use whatever you have at home so you don't have to spend money. Now you're probably wondering, why am I cutting the whole thing in cotton when it's not as long as the rest? As I said, where the bows are, I'm going to be slightly ruffling it up, and I will probably not cut it as long. In fact, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a lengthen or shorten line. I'm pretty much going to be cutting it. Nope, scratch that. I think as long as I have the fabric, I'm going to cut the whole thing in cotton. What I need to do instead is I actually need to cut my sleeves as the first part, because that way I'll know exactly how much cotton fabric I have to work with. I'm gonna actually cut the sleeves first, and then we'll start working on the dress. But we're gonna cut everything in cotton first, and we're gonna get to the velvet later, because that's where things get a little bit complicated. All right, I'm gonna go cut the sleeves out. We'll do that. For the record, on the jacket part, you're going to be cutting the collar in velvet, not in your cotton, unless you're doing the whole thing solid. This is just for me. Let's get to cutting. Okay guys, so looking at my fabric, I can see I'm not going to have enough to make the full piece. I will be shortening it, which is okay because in the dress it's already shorter. Basically what I'm going to go off of is there is a cut here to lengthen or shorten. That's all roughly around the same part of the jacket. It's right here. And I'm going to take about 3 inches down, and I'm just gonna cut from that line. Alright guys, so as you may have noticed, I have put all the pattern pieces on the fabric first because I was dangerously close to not having enough. If you decide to do a similar project like this, don't buy 4 yards of the cotton, buy 5 at least. I'm just glad that I ended up with just enough. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all of these out, and then we'll move on to the green velvet. You're going to take each piece. Remember how I drew that waistline where I need to cut out my green fabric? Let me try and zoom in a bit more. What you're going to do is, while your fabric's still attached to this, you're going to cut that line. Now, to explain why I'm going to do this is I don't want the green velvet to be an underskirt. But if we make it separate and have the cotton poinsettia fabric still as a solid piece, you're going to get a really weird, well, stitch line, and it may not look very good or add up very well. So it's just best that what we're going to do is we're going to separate our poinsettia fabric at the same place where you're going to start cutting your velvet fabric. And that way you'll have a seam all the way around the jacket, and it's going to look like it's supposed to be that way. I know this may sound really complicated right now, but when I'm sewing it and attaching everything together, I think it'll make more sense. The only main thing I want you guys to do at this point is, if you are going to do this yourselves, it will be handy to have pieces of paper, so when I cut this off, I can write 7 on it and like tack a piece of paper with a 7 on it to the bottom half. That way I know which pieces go with which. Don't be afraid, just cut it in. Yeah, just like that. You know, sometimes with sewing you just gotta dive right into the deep end. And then once I do all this and mark everything out, I'm gonna show you guys how I cut my green fabric, which is pretty basic. You're pinning it and you're cutting it. All right guys, so I'm just gonna go over it real quick. So cut off the ends of all my jacket pieces. I've written on them just which pieces they all go with, like 3 bottom, 7 bottom, blah, blah, blah. And I also went ahead and tagged the poinsettia pieces, which were cut to match them. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut these. And once I get that done, we're gonna talk about the part we don't have a pattern for, the caplet. You're also gonna wanna go ahead and cut your collar piece with these as well. All right guys, so I've cut out all those other pieces and now we're gotten to the caplet. So I've got my fabric folded once and it's sort of gonna be like a half circle skirt. So basically the easiest way to measure out how wide this needs to be is the base of that collar, which was 21. So half that is 10.5 roughly. This is really not how you're supposed to do this, but basically I'm gonna take it 5 inches down and cut just a little circle. I don't have any chalk right now, which makes life so difficult, but that's okay. I can always clean this up a little later. Then I need to know length. I'm gonna go with 15 inches. I'm gonna show you need to move. 15. Let's actually go a little longer. Let's go with 17, just to give myself a little bit of leeway. Of course, like I said, this is just to give myself some leeway because I may not want it this long. It just depends on if I am going to be deciding on using fur trim or not, because fur trim adds a lot more length on than if I just do a little lace trim. I turned out perfectly and had just enough of the green velvet with some to spare for any excessive needs. All right, let's go see how the caplet looks, because I'm just gonna put it on the mannequin real quick. All right guys, so as you can see, I've run into a problem. It is not big enough to cover the whole front. So here's what I'm gonna do to remedy this. I've got just enough fabric that I'm going to cut all the way up the middle and add another half piece and see where that gets me. Okay guys, so as you can see, it's gonna fit more in the front now. And I've only pinned it, but I'll sew it in place. There was what the back panel looked like. Why did I run into this problem? Because really, in a perfect world, I would have made that on a double fold, but I didn't have enough fabric. So instead, it was cut out like a half circle skirt, and you really should cut it out like a full circle skirt. This is just for me though, so I'm going to be okay with that. And I think it'll turn out just fine. All right. Alright guys, so I'm going to combine the skirt pieces together. And I'm just starting with the green one because that's the thread that I have in my machine. And really just, you want to make sure that you have the right pieces together. So like I have 2, 3, 4. And this is my front, middle front, side front. And then I'm going to combine all of them together. And then I'm going to combine all the others. And what I mean by combine is I'm just going to sew the side seams. I can't really figure out any better way of putting that. Alright guys, so here's how the underskirt is looking so far. It's really nice and full. I believe it has to get gathered. I haven't actually read the pattern. Oops. So now that I've gone and done this, I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the overskirt. So let's go and do that. Okay, and here is the overskirt. They are not attached yet. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and mock up the bodice following the directions of the pattern, or just winging it. I don't know, I winged it a lot. So it's looking really nice, got a lot of body. Let's turn it around. And I'm just in love with this poinsettia fabric so much. Okay guys, I'm gonna go and do the bodice. Alright guys, so I've gotten the bodice done, but I haven't sewn up the side seams yet because I was toying with an idea, because it looked a little plain in the middle, and I think I really like it with this, is I'm going to sew in a sash of red satin so that I can have a bow on the back. The bow looks a little right now because probably what I'll do is make the sash a little shorter and just knot it and then make a separate bow that's much more three-dimensional that I'll pin in on my knot. So I think I really like it. I will have to probably shorten my caplet so that the bow is not hidden by it and it's just a bit shorter in the back, which won't be any problem at all. So I guess I'll just go ahead and sew up the side seams with the sash in them. So it's really simple to do. I'm just gonna put the right sides together and sandwich the sash in the middle of those, which I'll probably show you guys because maybe that's gonna be a little confusing, but I need to shorten it first. So I'll be right back. Okay, so just to let you guys know, so what I meant by the sash is, okay, so I've got my right sides together and I'm just gonna take my sash and, oops, sorry, I should put my camera on a tripod. I wanna make sure that my little hem is there. And just sandwich it all together and pin it in place, and I'm gonna sew along. And then just make sure that your sides both match up so your sash is even. Alrighty, bye-bye. Okay, so I'm really happy with how it's going. I've tested out the bodice myself, so it fits really nice. I'm wearing a bit of a baggy shirt, so it was a little snug in the waist, but you know, a girl can always be hopeful. She'll also lose weight. So there's what it looks like with the bow. Like I said, it's floppy. I'm gonna actually have a separate one I attach to it. But that'll make it so that it can cinch a bit more and make my waist a little more flattering instead of just maybe straight, which, I mean, the pattern already has a very nice flattering cut to the waist. But it also just adds more, especially because I'll be doing little red bows throughout the whole dress. So, it's not a dress, it's a jacket. Okay, so next step is very boring and I'm not going to film any of it. I am now going to make the lining for the top only, and I'm just going to use a basic white cotton, and I'll be following the instructions for interfacing that. So I'm going to do that, and that probably will be it for today because it's been really exhausting. So I'll probably get back to you guys tomorrow and we will work more on it then and figure out what we are doing from there. Alright everyone, so we're on to day 2. And it snowed. So I have the bodice lining all done. And I also got my sleeves finished. I just pretty much followed the pattern. And for this I just went with some nice little white domes. They're a bit tinier than what the pattern suggested, but you know. Now, the main thing I changed is I did not line. Well, I lined the whole thing, but I didn't add interfacing onto most of it. I only did it on the front panels to support my buttons because I don't like my bodice to be super stiff. So now what we're gonna have to do is start working on the skirt patterns. Because velvet's very heavy, I can't attach it yet, so we're gonna do all the work on them before they're ever attached.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. In Bethlehem in Israel, this blessed babe was born and laid within the manger. For this blessed
Alright everyone, we're finally back to modern day. That's right. I never attached the top part of the jacket to the bottom part. It's been sitting there in my closet for, I think, about 3 years. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and get everything clipped together. I'm not really sure why I let this project just fall so much to the wayside. I understand why I let it slide for a year, but I just never got back to it. I just never did. I'm sure somebody out there can relate. You know, you get these projects going and then you miss your deadlines, and it's just really hard to sometimes come back around to them, or maybe even you start getting intimidated, I guess, because they've been sitting there so long. But that's why this year I want to finish all of these projects that I have kind of sitting around. And I did finish one that was not as bad as this. It was, I only did a short on it, which was my figs, my autumn fig, like colonial dress, which was really my first colonial dress. And that's kind of why I think there was such a time lapse with that one, because it was a bit intimidating doing the new time period. And I would like to do a full video of my next colonial dress, but that's going to be a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these together. It looks like Past Me did a fairly decent job of getting everything matching, so that is nice. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this and finish off the raw edge on the serger. Then we just have to figure out how to kind of tidy this. Gallerin, can you believe this is my baby Gallerin here? Oh, he's leaving. No, don't leave. This project, this dress is older than you. Isn't that amazing? All right, let's go to the sewing machine. And she looks like a jacket. Oh. Let's get a better view actually so you guys can see her more in her glory. Oh, she's starting to look like a real jacket. Like I said, I do actually have it so you can wear it with or without something that would look fine. Don't worry about that later. There's only one more step to do, which is the buttons. So this is the button design I'm going with. The camera is just not really picking her up very well, but it's like sort of just a white, wait, there, okay. So you can see it's a nice white kind of pearlescent button. My main problem is I've only got 4. I guess originally I had only planned on having the buttons here along the jacket front and then having the skirt open, which makes sense. I think that's exactly what I planned. So I guess that's what we're gonna go with. We just have to add the buttons and then she'll be complete and we are ready for the reveal, but we can't get too far ahead of ourselves just yet. Let's go add some buttons. So of course I'm gonna grab my button foot and maybe open it. Now the problem is when working with really, really large buttons like this that are also dome, they're not going to go in your buttonhole foot. That is really hard to get through my brain for some reason. But luckily I do know that the max hole that this can do will at least theoretically fit my buttons. So we're gonna have to go with that. And I don't know if I've ever thoroughly gone over buttonhole stuff on this channel, but basically you just attach your foot. You'll have a little thing that you push down and push back. Over here you'll notice there's let's see if I can zoom that in a bit better. On your machine you'll notice there's a weird symbol that looks like this, that it shows you're gonna do a buttonhole. Up here on the link, you'll notice the same type of symbol
usually between 1 and 0. You're going to want that up there. And then your width, which is basically the zigzag design, you're going to want at max, which for me is only 6. And I think that's everything. Tension you want to stay the same. I'm gonna go ahead and do a tester buttonhole and then we'll do the real thing. Okay, I've done my tester. It looks like it'll fit the button just fine. I've gone ahead and marked out the placement on here with like blue chalk. Ignore that piece of that one. But so 4 buttons, and I basically have them about 4 inches spread apart. So we're just ready to sew. Final step, I've gone ahead and used my buttonholes to mark out where these buttons need to go, and it's just time to sew them on. And that's really it. Because, you know, these buttons are dome, we have to do them by hand. I don't want to get too crazy into all the details for you guys. I just kind of want to get this jacket done at this point. But hey, I finished it, which is good. And yeah, maybe maybe this will help any of you out there who have sewing projects sitting around halfway done, almost done, and just been forgotten. You know, don't forget about them. It's they're sad. They're lonely, they're sad, they want to be finished. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I guess I'll finish up these and I'll see you guys in the reveal. Alright everyone, so as you may have noticed, there was a part of the jacket that was missing when we did the reveal. It was the green velvet caplet. Sadly to say, in all the moving and unpacking and packing and such, I seem to have misplaced it or lost it. And because of that, I just had to press on and finish the jacket as best as I could with what I had. I still think it looks really good. I'm still very happy with it. I will probably try and get a bit more of that velvet if I can ever find it, just to finish the final look. But I do hope that you enjoyed this video,
And as always, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. I need to sign off, I think. I'm done. I am so done and over this project. It is now time to move on to the next Christmas project that I started last year and finish it up this year. Again, I was even worried I almost lost this fabric. Willow is back there rubbing all over it, of course, and getting his fur on it to prepare for the next video. So this might be a couple weeks before you see this one, but I do have another video ready for you guys next week, and I'll catch up with you guys then. So yes, goodbye.